Hey there, welcome to the first episode of the Straight No Chaser podcast. I am your host, Bishop, and this particular podcast is all about having a fun time learning about the different aspects of life, things that have happened in history, what's going on right now. But we do it here. It's facts. We don't do any filters and we don't do any apologies. And today's show is interesting to me. This teaser show today is interesting because the question that I have for everybody is this whole connection between radical religion, right, and extreme politics. Could there be striking similarities between cult leaders and political figures? Is it possible? And when I look at it, I go, heck yeah. On the surface, heck yeah. Republican Party already been doing it for several years. Have they not? Have they not? They've already been doing it. Because when you look at, what is radical religion, right? What is being radical? To me, when it comes to radical religion, it all goes back to this belief in concepts and things that really don't align with reality. You know what I'm saying? Look, I'm digging for my notes here. But concepts and practices that don't really align with reality, but you strongly believe them. And you have there's no compromise that's going to happen when you have made the decision to go all in on radical religion, extreme religion. The same can be said for extreme politics. The same exact thing. When it comes to extreme politics, it is no compromise. This is the only way. They may lose concept with reality. And that's the same thing that you see when it comes to radical religion. And so now that radical religion and radical and extreme politics have now become cousins, right? And it didn't just happen. They've been cousins for quite some time. But now it's at they've exacerbated it. It's to a crazy point at this point now, where people are doing things in the name of religion, or political party that really isn't for the good of America. And I'm trying to still understand how we win with this because I don't feel like a winner yet. I don't think it's for us to win at all. I think the winning is supposed to be for, like they say, the others. And so when you get into this radical religion and extreme politics, it brought me back to a time in history. And it made me think about the possible similarities between Pastor Jim Jones, right? Pastor Jim Jones and Donald Trump. That's what it made me think about. Pastor Jim Jones and Donald Trump. Because and if you're not familiar, right, with who Jim Jones is, Jim Jones was a pastor, right, out of California that was a part that had a church, a movement called the People's Temple. And at first, it was all about everybody coming together, no matter your economic plight, no matter your color, any of that. None of that stuff mattered. Here, we're all family. But at some point, Jim decided he wanted even more control over his followers. I don't even call them parishioners or church members. They were followers because I consider that a cult in the way they were behaving, right? And they moved to Guyana, and he isolated them even more from the people that they loved, from their communities, from their government, from their family and friends. They did a lot of isolation. And when I look at Pastor Jim Jones and then I look at Donald Trump, I go, well, they're not that much different. Trump has done a very effective job, right, at keeping families separated from each other. If you're in MAGA and your family member isn't, 9 times out of 10, y'all still don't deal with each other anymore like that. It's too much for your family member. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to be a part of that. So they say, no, not no more. You got it, boo. You got it, boo. And so with Trump using that same approach that Jim Jones used. If you don't know how People's Temple ended, everybody didn't make it out. Because that's the thing with cults. Everybody doesn't make it out, right? Everybody doesn't make it out. And I know some of you are saying, MAGA's not a cult. What are you talking about? They're not a cult. Okay, let's just look at it. We're just going to look at a couple, just a few similarities that you have between extreme religion and extreme politics, because they have more alike than you really realize, right? Their leaders are always going to be charismatic. Always. They're going to be charismatic. And they're going to have an authoritative speaking style. They're going to speak with authority. Like, my way only. I tell you what to believe. Believe in me. Only I can lead you the right way. Right? Because that's how they get you. That's how they brainwash you into believing that only their way is the right way. Right? That's how it starts. And then you got to be loyal. You have to be loyal. Jim Jones made very clear to his parishioners, you must be loyal. Donald Trump does the same thing every time. He's going to remind you every time. Fealty is the only option. You aren't allowed to question it. You aren't allowed to wonder if it's okay. You just got to fall in line. Fall in line. And the messaging is very simple. And they repeat the same thing over and over again. MAGA, make America great again. Make America great again. See, it doesn't take much, right? In that regard, it doesn't take much for you to remember it, right? You don't have to go look it up in a dictionary, encyclopedia to figure out what they're talking about. Democrats take note. People are getting tired of those damn dissertations. You know? Then there's always this us versus them. They need an enemy. They always need an enemy. You guys have got to understand the Republican playbook, the Trump playbook. Republicans have been doing it for a long time, but Trump has continued on with it. They always have to have an us versus them. There always has to be an enemy, right? Always. Because how else do you gain control? You have to keep them scared. You have to keep the people trusting you and only the people that you tell them that they should also trust, right? Only those people. They demonize anybody that doesn't agree with what they want. Consider them hate. Oh, they hating on us. They don't like what they're standing in the way of what we're doing. They don't like to be criticized because criticism puts things in the minds of the people who are full all in and may cause them doubt. They don't want them to have any doubt. They want them to believe 100% every day and twice on Sundays that the only person to be trusted is that person in that place of authority. That's what Trump has done. It's straight up evangelicalism in politics, cultism in politics. And the people that are caught up in this, they're just going to chant and repeat the same things that they hear every day because that's the only way to stay in it. They got to keep watching the media that will reinforce those talking points. Because if they don't do that, guess what? None of it makes any sense. This is what I need y'all to understand. This is what I've tried to get people to understand for a long time. Cults are not built overnight and they're not destroyed overnight. And people aren't going to make big grand announcements when they decide to stop supporting it either. Y'all got to understand that. One, like with Trump, he makes very clear, this is our America. And the us versus them, he created a lot of us versus thems. Think about it. A lot of us versus thems. Some of them were American citizens where he was pitting the American public against one another. And sometimes it was just outright having us fight against anybody that wasn't American. That's what they do. When you're being radicalized, it's a smooth, slow process. It doesn't happen overnight because they would never get you overnight. It requires you to put up a wall, right, around yourself so you can continue to believe those lies. But that's not leadership. That is manipulation, right? That is manipulation, you know? And what we're going to dig deeper into, oh shoot, I lost that. As we move through our episodes, especially talking about this particular thing, is how these leaders create these stories and widespread conspiracies and do all these crazy things, right? All these wild, insane things just to draw you in even closer. Everything is about keeping you attached to the message, keeping you attached to the person and the entity. Because as soon as they lose that, they've lost control and they've lost you. So if you have a family member that is caught up in this, right? Understand it's going to take time. And you're not going to get them out by yelling, screaming, cursing, any of those things. If anything, you're going to draw them closer to the very thing you want to push them away from, right? So you got to be smart about it. You got to be smart about it. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the things you can do, the types of conversations you can have, And those conversations don't start with name calling, being rude, being mean. That's not going to get you there. I'm not saying you got to kiss ass either. Let's be clear. But I'm saying there is a method to the madness if you truly and ultimately want to be able to save somebody. The problem is you also got to get used to, you can't save everybody from themselves. Like J. Cole says, don't save her. She don't want to be saved. Don't save her. Listen, stop trying to save everybody. Sometimes people got to put on their own life vest and save themselves. And that's kind of where we are now. Because the problem is when people are in a cult, right? You either get pulled in with them or you got to accept that you're going to lose them. But this thought that you're going to be able to have the same influence that you always had, that's never going to happen, beloved. That's never going to happen, beloved. That won't happen. That won't happen. That will not happen. And in America, it ain't hard to get radicalized. It's because you have social media, you have the regular media, you have so many places where that same message can be pushed over and over and over and over again. And folks not even know it. Hell, you got some people pushing the propaganda that don't even know they're pushing it. They think they're they're not woke because they say woke is bad. I'm not sure what, I don't know. I mean, you can't be woke. You can't be asleep and do all that talking. So I don't know what they are, but I know they're not woke because conservatives say that's a bad thing. That's a bad thing. But we're going to do a deep depth in discussion. And I encourage you guys to join me and listen to that podcast when the podcast talks about this whole hour of radical religion versus extreme politics. Extreme politics. Because it won't change if we don't call it out. It won't change. Remember, folks will have you thinking the one thing you got to worry about all day, every day is terrorists. I ain't never had to worry about the Taliban or Al Qaeda. Y'all Qaeda was where I was concerned. Y'all Qaeda was where I was concerned. Crisis, not ISIS, the Christian right. Crisis. That's where I was concerned. Because those people are always most concerned about stopping progress. Those are cults. MAGA is no different. MAGA is also a cult. And you don't get out of a cult by one day waking up and saying, I'm walking out the door. It doesn't work like that because a cult ain't going to let you go that damn easy. That ain't how it works. So join me for the discussion when we going to dig all the way deep for a whole hour talking about extreme religion compared up against extreme politics. Somewhere along the line, things changed, but somebody figured out if you could sprinkle a dose of religion in the conversation, magically, some people forget and become so laser focused on it, you can get them to do anything and vote for anything. So thank you guys for joining me today and listening and watching. I appreciate it. See you next time on the Straight and No Chaser podcast. I'll tell you like I tell every time, Don't let the haters live rent free in your head. Don't feed the trolls, and you can accomplish anything you want if you're consistent. Peace, and until next time.